Hello everyone. I haven't recorded in a little bit because I was a bit busy with some teaching and stuff like that. This is going to be a pretty short one. I'm going to show you the project now. I've done some progress. I was able to resolve a lot of the issues that we had previously. The fog is still not 100% like on the stage, but I'll be able to adjust it. I'm not too worried. And what I have now is like the building is now being rendered kind of like within the fog. So I was able to kind of implement the proper sorting, the isometric sorting. I also have my cursor there, and as you can see, it kind of goes behind the building, so it's rendered behind as well. So I'll show how this was done essentially, and after this I'm going to add a change to the project, a slight structural change that I think is going to highlight a new feature of the SDL library in version 3. So yeah, so first of all, I'm just in the diff here with my latest commit. I'm going to highlight all the changes so that you can kind of catch up with me before we add the SDL main callbacks into the project. So it's a way to structure the project, which according to the SDL documentation might in the future be a requirement for certain platforms. And they don't really say which platform, but I was thinking, maybe new platforms that are going to be added to the library in the future. So that's why I want to use the callbacks, and it's also it's not too hard and it works really well, and so we'll do that right after. So first of all, I added this boolean, it's called wins if tie, to the grid element. The grid element is the component that I give to elements which are part of a grid. So it's kind of like the other side of being part of a grid. The grid is the two-dimensional array that you can add to an entity to allow it to store other entities in a two-dimensional array. And then the grid element is the component we give to that entity within that grid, right? So this is just a boolean that makes it so that if there's a tie in the kind of isometric comparison that we'll check out later, it wins the tie essentially. So it's going to come up later. We have a constructor now for the grid element. So this is isosort. Should have cleaned it up before. And the way it works is it calculates a depth for essentially two elements that you're comparing into the sprite rendering systems from flecs. So it compares the depth and it returns either -1 or 1. And then if neither of these cases is true, it means the depth are equal. So it continues and it checks if any of the elements have win tie and the other element doesn't have win tie. That would mean that that element would win even if the depth are equal. There might be a situation where we want an element to be rendered in the front for any reason, especially if elements are stacked on the same tile, essentially. So this is going to serve that purpose eventually. And then if the elements are fully equal, we just return 0. So essentially after this, I'm just going to show you, so isosort is being used. Isosort is being used in here. So something I did is I kind of rewrote, instead of having a single system to render all the sprites, I reused the draw sprites callback, but I created multiple systems, and each systems work with a different kind of relationships. So depending on if the entity has a relationship, if its draw batch is floor, then it's going to be rendered as part of this system, render floor sprites. And then if it's a draw batch is floor UI, it's going to be rendered as part of this one, and then this one. So essentially what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to create kind of steps to the rendering, very defined steps. So we're going to render the floor, we're going to render all the isometric objects on top, and so on. This is going to come back in a little bit. So yeah, something else that changed in the project is I just renamed here the fog, and when I created the fog, I access its grid element and I store the coordinates of the cells it's within, so that when it comes to rendering the fog, I can know its coordinates and I can just render the fog essentially. Same for the the skyscrapers. I store their coordinates based on where they're spawned, and then I can use that in the isosort function. So yeah, here we can see that basically board objects are classified as being part of the draw batch board content. So it means they're rendered third. Like first is the floor, then the floor UI, and then the board content. And then you can see that it means the skyscraper, which is a board object, will also have this relationship. Then here the cell is being added to the draw batch of the floor, so all the cells will be rendered first, essentially. Here I just updated all the systems, essentially. So I rewrote the system. Instead of using the shorthand macro on the left, I use a fully explicit kind of declaration, which is much bigger. So first of all, I kind of define a new entity representing that system and what it depends on. In the future, I'm going to create my own, a separate, how do they call this, a phase. I'm going to create my own phase, but for now it's just depending on update. Then basically all the system render sprite systems will have the same configuration of components that they require. The only difference will be the tag. And you can see they use isosort to sort the way that the entities are going to be processed. So it's going to make it so that all the entities are being rendered in an isometric conformity, essentially. And here we create the actual system using the entity, using the query, and using the callback. And we do this 3 times with different draw batches, and there's going to be more draw batches pretty soon for the UI as well. You can see all the draw batches here that I'm going to add for now. Floor UI. The floor UI is because I want to have like symbols on the isometric tiles themselves under kind of characters, and I want to be able to technically I could add them to the board content, but I don't know. I feel like I'll have to think on that actually. The screen UI and then the cursor will be rendered above everything else, and a separate call. Maybe it won't even be a system. We'll see. Here the grid selector, I'm just adding to it a grid element. It's not used, but it's just required for rendering. So, and here I'm kind of adding the pair floor UI so that it's going to be rendered as part of the floor UI. And that's about it. So I really just added like the draw batches and the sorting, kind of improved a bit how the sprite rendering was being done, so that it first of all, it was messy last time when we I last recorded the video. So now we're going to look at the main callbacks, how we implement these. The way it works is you have to do it in you have to use a single C script for this. You can't have this in multiple C scripts, and so a single C script, you have to use SDL main use callbacks 1, and then you have to include SDL3. Sorry. SDL underscore main.h. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Sorry. Alright, so once you've included this, you're going to have an error that's going to say an error on your main. So what happens is that you can't define main anymore, and instead you have to define the SDL callbacks. And essentially, so instead of main, we're going to use SDL app result, SDL app init, and then use a pointer to a void pointer, so kind of a piece of uninitialized arbitrary memory. And then we're going to pass the standard argument count and argument values. Alright, finally. Sorry, I have some problem because my keyboard has multiple languages and sometimes it messes up. So we define this like that, and then we have to make sure that we're going to return an SDL result. So here, so first of all, we're going to return just here, just before the endless while loop, okay, like that. And there's going to be an error after, but don't care. And then we're going to return SDL app continue. If you have a failure or something, you can return SDL app a failure. So you have the init function. It kind of replaces the way that main starts off. And then you have another one. So there's a few of these which wrap all the different elements of SDL. So you also have SDL app event, which takes the same pointer, but this time it's the direct pointer. It's not the it's not a pointer to a pointer, but it's the same memory. And then it also has a SDL event called event. So in here, essentially, we can get rid of. Let's just take this out here a second, because we'll need it, because this needs to come back. But we don't need the event anymore. It's going to be the parameter. And we don't need this wild stuff there. We don't need all this wild stuff, which means that we're going to have we're going to have kind of extra. It's going to be chaotic here. So let's just format the page, hopefully. Okay. So this is going to be event. So the way this is working is that you don't need this wild contraption anymore, and the pumping of the event is going to happen through this callback now. Here the ECS will deal with it. I'll explain what's going to happen. Like that. But yeah, we're good. And then so we have the SDL app event, which is the kind of the equivalent of the old system where we were using the poll event function to get an event, but it kind of takes care of it by itself. And finally, we also here we can use SDL app result always. This is SDL app iterate, like this, okay? And then this takes a void pointer to the app state again. And then you can put the curly brackets like this. Alright, we're almost okay. We almost did it. So just give me a second. There's a cat that jumped behind the computer. I need to intervenes. It's very serious. Right. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. So yeah, we have SDL app iterate here, which is kind of the standard looping. So it kind of breaks down the loop between the event processing and the actual kind of tick of the application. And then finally, we also have a function called SDL app quit, which has the app state and the final result here. For this, we don't need to do anything for now. We can just leave it empty, just like that. So we have some issue, like the ECS is going to say it's unresolved. So I'll show you how to deal with this and how I like to handle that whole thing. So basically, if we go back to the very start, SDL app init, we're initializing a bunch of stuff, and then here we have this here, ECS init there. But instead of storing it in a variable called ECS of type ECS world T, instead we're gonna simply dereference the app state, and because it's a void pointer, it can accept any kind of memory. So this is gonna kind of take care of this. And then if you want, you have two choices. You can either directly use that here like this, okay? But for the sake of it, we could use a pointer like that called ECS, and then just the reference like this, kind of like creating an alias to that more complicated name. And that's going to work out for us. So basically, the memory that is going to be created by ECS init is going to be stored in this parameter, which is an out parameter, right? So then it takes it, and when we come here, this app state is going to be the ECS world, which is going to be neat. We could just kind of do the same thing. So ECS world, like that, is the app state. Yes, just it's an easy one, right? In the iterate function is where I think I'm going to put the profiling. Technically, maybe I should put it here actually. Like that. And then here, we do something like this. We should also return SDL app continue, and same thing here in the app event. We should return SDL app continue, and then here in the quit we should return SDL app. I think we should return success. Let's just see. Alright, so you can see the application still works. There's a glitch. I need to look into why the text isn't refreshing, so I'll have to check this out. And now if we click X, it closes with 0. Alright, so this is an example of how you set up the main callbacks. You can see it's just a simple organizational technique. And because you have this void pointer, you can kind of keep a piece of memory. The goal of this is that all your data should be in the app state. And right now, one thing I don't like about the design is that we have a lot of global elements here. So what's going to happen is that all of these elements, I'm going to wrap them into a singleton representing the game, or perhaps even like yeah, the game or the project, you know, the app maybe. So I'm gonna have a big kind of singleton, and that's an entity I can store in the ECS, so it can be passed along in the void pointer of the app state, and we can easily kind of access this data throughout the application. So probably something like this is gonna be nice. It's probably going to create a bunch of little issues. As soon as I take this and I move it here, it's going to be very chaotic, essentially. Right, I just needed to check how to create singleton. I forgot. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's very easy. So I'm gonna wrap all the data that was global in the singleton app. There's gonna be a bunch of errors, but that's fine. And then in the init function here, let's create the app state very early, before SDL. And then we're going to say ECS singleton add. We're going to add to our ECS a singleton of type app s. Of course, we'll need to define these things. Let's just define all of this stuff here like that. And so we want to define singleton. Let's define it kind of above like this, and we'll need to declare as well. This happens here like this. Okay, so there's some issue. Oh yeah, it's app s. There we go. I'm using S for singleton and C for component, but it might not be needed. So then we're gonna add the app here. And then, so after this, I don't know if there's another, oh, we can just, yeah, that would be better if we could just ensure. That's even better, because it means we can get the singleton called the app, like this. And then we can do something like app, like that. So that's nice, because we can pass this piece of information very easily through that system. So, so it's going to be very easy to fix all these errors. And I don't think it's too heavy to just say it's part of the app. Here, when we are going to recover the app state, we're going to have no choice to do that first. Then we're going to do the same thing. So something like this. And then here, same thing. So that should be good. I just need to look into, there's still 14 issues, so let's just, oh yeah, there's some issue as well when we get into the systems. So when we get into the systems, what we want to do is we want to go here and we can do the same thing. But to get the world, we have to use the iterator world. This. Alright, so that's good. Same thing here. I could probably just copy. And then just use this. Here we do the same thing, so it's very redundant. The thing, at least that's the nice part, is that even though you have a million of errors, it's very easy to fix. So you can get the app. In load map, we have the ECS here, so we can do the same thing. We can do the exact same thing. So this singleton system is quite practical. So there's the same situation. Alright, we're almost done. Coming to the end of this challenge. Now I think it's still gonna be broken, oh, it didn't even compile. Oh yeah, because we have this now. Actually, you know, this it's a good opportunity to create a hook for this, so I'm gonna copy all of that. Then I'm going to delete like that, and then I'm going to go down here at the top. I'm going to do a create void app, void ptr. Should just kind of paste what I have and copy this and paste it like that. Also take all of this. We only have one singleton, so but I still think you should do it like this. Just I'm not sure exactly, but you know, I don't know if they have like a different constructor. So I'm gonna try like that. So I'm gonna put this in the hooks, create hooks. Oops. App hooks. This is called app, sorry. Alright, so we create this. We put the default values in the constructor. Oh. Interesting. It says here something about app S already in use. I've never seen this error, so I'm gonna try removing the hook. Oh, it seems like it's forbidden. So it seems like there's no conceptive constructor, which is fine. I was just trying out something, so I'll remove it. Seems like it might not be desirable, so it didn't really make sense anyway. Why would you iterate over, you know, a bunch of stuff? So now we have successfully created the mains callback and kind of wrapped all the global data into this singleton so that we can easily kind of access it throughout the void pointer that we pass through the application. So it's a way to kind of merge the two API that I find pretty convenient. I haven't seen a lot of downsides to it for now. Alright, why is the text not showing up now? Because we have this system draw text. Let's just put a little breakpoint. So it's triggering. And when it's triggering, it's getting to this stage where it has some memory in this value called temp, which I would like to read. And this value seems like to be empty or something. Content, yeah. The content is empty. The way that I was doing it is, I remember part of it. So in it, I have this thing here, debug info tile selector. It's supposed to show this. Actually, I don't remember exactly how it's done. So I'm gonna try to put it back together. I wonder, was it when we were moving the mouse in the event? Yeah, it's here when we're moving the mouse. So we're moving the mouse and I want to check out here if we ever reach this point. I would like to know. I wonder if it's okay, it seems like the value is being processed properly. I have some questions that I'm not too sure, like there's slight ambiguities in the way that I use the string library that I just want to make sure. Yeah, I'm kind of like paranoid now about this library sometimes, but I don't think it's the cause. There's something going on too. I'm wondering if I look here, did I disable? I think I might have just disabled the system completely when I did my refactoring. Or did I? No, it's still there. draw text, and it was triggering. I'm just a bit tired because of life and stuff. So what's going on exactly there? So draw text. It would be nice to be able to do some logging. So I'm gonna log something. I'm just gonna say I'm logging I'm going to log the content. It's just empty. So weird. The only thing that changed is that I reordered with the main callbacks. And I really don't know right now what could be the point of failure. I must have done something terrible. I'm going to go into my change history and just kind of look back a little bit. Okay, so I guess a good thing to know, because I'm a bit confused right now, this is just a normal part of, you know, creating a project. But right now, and I'm just trying to kind of think, you know, kind of in a public fashion, so you can see how maybe I could think out myself out of this trap, right? So one thing I can think of right now that could maybe give me some idea is I can just go in the event and disable the code that updates the text content, because there's already a default text, so I should be able to see it. All right. So this is working. You see there's no problem. Tile -1 but then for some reason, what's the problem here? Is this a problem? This could be a problem, I don't know. I'm gonna try something else. If what I try works, then yeah, maybe. So I think we can use SDL SN printf for this, right? And then we want to set in text content SN printf, and then we want to set in text content, let's say the maximum length is going to be how long is that? Thinking, I'm like Okay, I'm just gonna change this to like a static buffer just for now, like this, and then we're gonna take that stuff. So we just do this. And then here, I'm just trying something just to see like if there's something going on with the string that I was using, because I'm having a doubt, and I don't like that. I would like to have a clear answer. So it's working. So there's something I'm misunderstanding about the M Lib string. There's definitely something I'm misunderstanding. I don't understand why it suddenly works, but it works. So that's a very interesting situation that it works. If I go back a little bit, actually, maybe I want to commit this version. I'm gonna commit this version, and I'm just going to say switch to SDL main callbacks, SDL3 main callbacks, and moving global data to app singleton. I'm gonna send that over, and then I can easily just kind of go back, and without too much worry, I know I can restore to this state. So I'm gonna undo some stuff. Okay, I'm gonna put back this. So I'm just gonna try to. For some reason, I don't know why, but it seems to me like the clear was creating a problem. Maybe not here, but in the system. And I'm not too sure why that was the case. Doesn't even seem to change anything. Anyway, at least we found the issue, and if I'm able to maybe I'll just, I don't know, I wanted to use this. I thought it was better, but now I'm like so confused. Maybe it's my render function. Like if I just play the game. And then let's just move it, put the maybe because for some reason I have no idea. Maybe because this is like, I don't know, maybe this is garbage, and it's never been, because it's hard to debug this problem as well. Like, let's just stop clearing everything, but then we're gonna just, I don't really understand then. I thought that clearing was necessary to avoid like kind of creating a bunch of temporary strings. Doesn't change anything. I do not understand why the it doesn't get carried over. It's really quite confusing to me. So I thought maybe the clearing was doing it, but now even that isn't doing anything. This is like a finding Waldo situation. There's a component, the component text, so maybe I should just make sure to have a hook for it. I didn't connect the hook, so it's not going to change anything. Not that I think it would change anything. I think it's going to do absolutely nothing. But I'm just kind of, just continuing my process of trying to figure out what the heck is going on, essentially. Also, it's interesting, I never noticed that the frame rate was like reactive, and if I stopped moving it went out to 0. So I'm not too sure if it's because I started using the main callbacks. But it's interesting. I'm gonna have to think about what's going on there. Alright, so I'm really not too sure why the draw text system is failing. If I use the string library, it's very bizarre, and I wish I could figure it out. I'm probably gonna look into that a bit off stream. For now, I'm just gonna revert what I did. This is the version that works, that has the sprintf, and if it turns out that it's more trouble than it's worth, I might just go back to using SDL printf. I just don't know why it's not working the other way. So thanks everyone for catching up, and I'll try to create more videos in the future. I've reached my first goal, which was to have this kind of display with fog. Now I'm gonna try in the future to add a player that can navigate the board and have a kind of a line of sight that can clear up the fog. And I'm gonna look into adding more than just the skyscraper. I have other kind of art, and I want to create actual terrain that fits together. This is really ugly. It's just a mosaic right now of green and black tiles, but my intent is to have like a more of a biome system where you have different environments that follow each other in a more coherent fashion. So these are all future projects that I'm going to try to implement into this in the future. So thanks, and sorry, this was a little bit of a troubleshooting section there, and it didn't really lead anywhere, but I'm still gonna be on the lookout for why, and if you have any insight for me about what I could be doing wrong with the string type. I'm still new using M Lib, and I didn't have any problem before, so I'm gonna have to look into what's up. So thanks for catching up, and have a good one. Alright, so I just wanted to do a little follow-up. So yeah, it definitely is my usage of the M Lib string, so just wanted to... I found this is what I was using, right? So the problem is... Oops. My bad, I zoomed in. The problem is it says it here, the pointer remains valid until the string itself remains valid. So this won't really work for what I was... This won't really work, essentially. So I'm gonna have to think about another approach for my strings, and I think that's something I'll do in the future, in a nearby future, probably in one stream or two, because I also want to kind of bring a few structural changes to the project. I want to remove the usage of calloc and use malloc, and I want to do a few more adjustments to the way the project is laid out. So I'll take the same opportunity to rework the way I handle these strings, because I'm doing it in a terrible manner. So that's about it. Thank you.